sure.
Did I make it up, or is it a real expanded universe thing? Indiana Jones and the Wiener of... He loses his virginity to...
Cleopatra.
All right, I believe it is time for ranking. Drum roll, please. Oh, for a second I thought you had Crystal Skull number 1. I was like, oh, we're doing
just
it.
tricking you.
Temple of Doom 2. Oh my god. All right, so let's start with Crystal Skull as last.
Yes.
Crystal Skull, first 48 minutes. Pretty great.
Pretty great.
To be honest,
these are my
great.
addendums. I like the first half of Crystal Skull more than Dial of Destiny. Most of it is not CGI'd to hell yet. It's got the Soviets versus Indiana, the big warehouse, and you see the ark.
Nuking the fridge, riding the inflatable raft is maybe worse than nuking the fridge.
It's a very short sequence. I think I built it up over those years of people maligning
it. Became the new jumping the shark.
Right. When I watched it, I was like, wow, this happens really early in the movie. And also, it's like that. And it's over. And I'm like, okay, that was actually kind of cool. It looked good.
I feel like if it didn't have the CGI tumbling for hundreds of yards, where it's like, oh, it's like he was in a submersible that just collapsed underwater. Like, this isn't working. If it had been, hey, this flimsy house made of plywood they built for this nuclear test had blown away, and the 1,000-pound fridge full of lead had just stayed put completely and protected him from the gamma rays, it fell over.
Yeah, sure. Or blown 20 feet or something.
Just have it not move at all. The whole house gets blown away and it stays there.
It's rolling, and you're like...
It's flying over the car.
He scrambled in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the shot is from the outside of the house. Mm-hmm. The house gets just blown away and the fridge doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
And then he comes out of it and it's like, well, the gamma rays were taken by the lead, and all right.
What about that fallout? No big deal, though.
And then
that'll be later.
Terrible CGI groundhogs or whatever those are.
Right from the beginning, you're like, oh, yikes. The mountain becomes a molehill kind of thing.
But otherwise, not as bad as the raft in Temple of Doom.
No.
I thought. Which goes on and on, because it's like, oh, we're going to fly out of the sky with this, and then do a skiing thing, and then off a cliff, and now we're just going down a river. And
suddenly we're down the Himalayas, I guess, into hot India.
But yeah, the last half of Crystal Skull is just terrible CGI, swinging on vines. The whole chase thing is just like, part of it, I think, is because we have all these characters, like Marion and Mutt and Mac.
I hate Mac so much. He drags the entire thing down. I hate him.
I don't hate him because it's like, oh, he's his buddy from, he was OSS and he was MI6 or whatever. He's like, actually, I'm a double agent. And later he's like, what are you, a triple agent? He's like, no, I just lied about being a double agent. I was like, that's kind of fun. I like that. It's all right.
I just...
but the fact that it's like, we just have all of these characters and they all have to go for the whole journey. Mm-hmm. So that they all can, so the screenwriter can at any moment be like, well, and then Mutt says this clever line I thought of. So we have to have the whole crew at all times.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Well, now we have to fall down the falls 3 times. Yeah. Well, it's CGI and no one cares.
The tank has to fall onto a tree and it just...
Yeah, oh my god.
And then it becomes a boat. But Karen Allen is fantastic. She's wonderful.
We didn't talk about her at the end of Dial of Destiny. Karen Allen at the end. I don't understand why she wants a divorce because she's so depressed because Mutt died. And then it's like, oh, but then he went on an adventure without me and now I love him again?
Yeah, it's very strange. About? I like the aliens or interdimensional beings. I think it fits for the time, the 50s, the Red Scare, Roswell.
I think it's fine.
I like the aliens. People are like, but in the other ones, it's like religious artifacts. Well, religion is sci-fi.
Jesus is real and aliens are real. They're both real. I mean,
Jesus
Temple of Doom did the same thing with like weird, mysterious rocks of whatever.
Essentially, Irina Spalko, Cate Blanchett's character, wants to control the minds of all the Americans, which in Temple of Doom, that's what they want to do with the Sankara Stones too. Is they control minds.
They have voodoo. Voodoo works in
Well,
Temple of Doom.
because he drinks the blood of Kali,
Which
he's
they
mind
reference.
controlled for a little bit.
They reference that in...
Yeah, they do. When they're
How
climbing.
come you're so slow? Well, I drank the blood of Kali. I was like, all right.
Why does he mention that one?
Well, I lost my virginity to Mata Hari.
Right, just like, and she doesn't. This happens all the time in movies now. Is no one reacts to crazy things. If they're looking at something crazy, they don't just lose their mind. They're just like, oh, I've seen a lot of movies, so this is crazy. Oh.
If you saw aliens in real life, would you be like, oh, those are a lot like the aliens from Close Encounters?
I mean, I would just lose my mind if aliens came down, you know?
Dinosaurs?
That would have been...
My mom has claimed to have seen a UFO.
And then I have Dial at number 4.
You have 4. I have Temple at 4. I'm not positive. I feel like we need to wait 10 years and come back and then see
yeah.
how much. But I think right now, because I did just watch all 5 in a row.
Yeah, same.
Which one do you want to watch again? I feel like I'd rather watch Dial again than Temple.
That's why I have Temple at 2. I mean...
Temple at 2 is a bold...
It is very bold, but I do have another addendum once we get there, but Temple is just... It's so intense pretty much the whole way. There's so much problematic stuff.
Which... You can still enjoy the film, being a white person, I guess. I don't know. I can still enjoy it.
I mean,
for
I
what
know
it was
I have it
and
in
when
the
it
back.
was made.
I have it in the back of my head, and I just like. But there's so much good stuff in it. Like the mine car chase is incredible.
I don't love the
You don't
mine
like
car
it?
chase.
It feels
all right.
It feels so intense. It just like that's what I'm missing from Dial. Honestly, like.
To me, it's the same as the Tuk Tuk, where I'm like, I don't really believe this. The part where they do the jump and it lands perfectly, I'm like,
Oh, that no, of course, yeah.
No.
I think the villains are great. I think the heart pull-in is great. Again,
It is a good villain. I'll give you that. Maybe not the most interesting villain, but memorable and.
I think that's what it is. And yeah, this is probably childhood. Just like it's encoded in my blood.
Willie Scott screeching and being obnoxious. It's like they wanted to do something different from Marion, who's the ultimate cool girl, badass.
Oh, she's the
All
best.
this. She's great. She's not great in either of the newer movies. Willie Scott, I hate.
Yeah.
She's terrible.
Biggest trouble with her is the noise.
I like Short Round. I know a lot of people hate Short Round.
I like him. He's great.
I like Short Round.
She gets better as the movie goes on. She gets less screamy.
I stopped caring, I guess. I don't know. I didn't notice that.
I do like her because I was particularly watching it because yes, after all these years, you're just like everyone hates Willie Scott, and I'm like she's not that bad. She's bad for a while.
I think you said intense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is like torture. I'm watching torture and
yeah, it's really
not
dark.
fun.
It's really dark.
It's just not fun. the bridge at the end, cutting the bridge when you're in the middle of it. That's great. Classic Indiana Jones.
Prepare to meet Kali in hell. Oh, on our way!
There are moments in it that are like, this is just classic Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of stuff that's problematic or torture, and I'm not into it.
All those kids, yeah. But
I do feel like my dial ahead of Temple is, I don't know, we'll see. Does it have classic moments like that? I don't know.
Get back!
Maybe that train sequence.
The train sequence is pretty good and pretty memorable.
The bomb, and it saves him from... Will that be a, maybe? I'm projecting that in 10 years we'll look back more fondly on that than we do on Temple. That's my thought.
Just like Crystal, I kind of look on it a little more fondly now.
You like Temple more.
Yeah.
To me, this is really tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Throwaway, yeah.
But you have Temple ahead of Crusade.
Crusade, okay.
Most people have Raiders, Crusade.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then I'm like, hot take, I like Crusade better than Raiders. And you're like, no, Temple of Doom is better than Crusade. Oh, okay, interesting. Make the case for me, Crusade's not as good as Temple of Doom.
My other addendum is Crusade has the best finale of most movies.
Yes. I have 2 things written down, which is which film has the best sidekick?
Okay.
Which is Sean Connery in Crusade.
It's gotta
best
be.
sidekick. Better than Marion and Raiders. Better.
Not for me, but that's fine.
I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne. Let my armies be the rocks and the trees and the birds in the sky.
Like I remember my Shakespeare. Charlemagne.
Yeah, it's
made my
pretty silly.
Be the earth and the birds or whatever the hell that quote is, and it's like that's clever and interesting and all of these things, and it's like Marion is like she's the cool girl who drinks a lot. Yeah, all right, is that clever? I don't know. That's clever. Best sidekick, best ending. Both go to Crusade.
Again, I think Crusade's ending is just incredible. Every time he does the leap of faith and it pans to the side, I'm just blown away.
Raiders' ending is like kind of bad.
It's scary.
It's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it like melts their faces and all that, right? But Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood are just kind of like along for the ride as hostages, and they just kind of get tied up, and then we just kind of watch them open the thing. Whereas Last Crusade, and it's like, oh, I shot your dad, and now you have to do the steps.
Yeah.
And then you meet this crazy old knight, and all of a sudden it's like,
oh, the knight
very different.
Is very cool.
You're strangely dressed for a knight.
As a child, we had Raiders and Crusade on VHS and not Temple of Doom. Somebody went out of their way to buy those 2 and not Temple of Doom.
I have seen
so
Temple of Doom
I don't remember it that well.
more. That's probably why. I mean, I just have seen Temple of Doom more. I don't know why. Because watching it doesn't like this.
I mean, I watched it maybe a year or 2 ago, and I was like, I don't think I've seen this in 20 years.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay. I remember why I haven't watched it again.
I think the first half of Crusade is fine. I don't think Ilsa is really very charismatic.
The fact that she had sex with both of them. How do you know she was a Nazi? She talks in her sleep. You know, it's like, this is
double take? What?
Well, that's great. That's why it's a better sidekick situation. There's so much more comedy in there. He shoots the rudder and is like, "They got us, son." That's so good.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I can see the argument if you were older than we are, which we're not, because we are our own ages. If you'd seen Raiders and then have been like, "This is just the same movie again." There's a lot of the things that are like, well, "Let's do that," but instead of snakes, it's rats. Instead of their faces melting, he gets old and turns to dust. It's like, okay, those are kind of rehashing those, But as a kid, having not known those things, and you just pop in one of these movies, like I think Crusade is better.
They rhyme.
It's like poetry.
Raiders is number 1 for me. I think it's a perfect movie.
I don't.
When people ask me, are there any perfect movies, Brett, you're the movie guy. Raiders is one of them.
What else is on your perfect movie list? Back to the Future.
Yeah, there's one.
7.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Sure.
Sure. That's a sure. The music. I would change the music. Especially the very beginning. It's got some terrible music.
Yeah.
Predictions show a steady low. You're feeling just the same.
I think Toy Story is a perfect movie.
Yeah, I'll probably give you that.
Raiders also edges out Crusade, and I mean, I could flip Temple and Crusade. They're all pretty equal.
For you, the top 3.
Yeah, they're the original trilogy. They
that's
have to
tier
be.
1.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very much a Lord of the Rings situation. Like, they're all pretty equal.
For me, Temple of Doom is a different tier.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Raiders has a better villain, too. I think Walter Donovan is...
Yeah, I would give you Crusade doesn't have the great villain.
Yeah.
It's like, well, Elsa kind of turns, and then there's like some SS guy, I don't know.
Maybe if Donovan had been played by another actor. His name is Julian Glover.
Julian Glover.
Just popped in there, but...
I feel like he does a good job, it's just they don't give him...
much to work with, yeah.
Because he's got to play the, like, good guy at the beginning.
Yeah, he's like a rich... he's a
turns
Nazi.
out he's a Nazi.
Oh,
he's Walt Disney.
Wait a minute.
Is he Walt Disney?
Is he?
Famous anti-Semite. Would Walt Disney be happy about making films where Nazis are the bad guys?
You would hope he would come around, right?
You would hope.
Maybe we'll ask his frozen head.
In Raiders, when he runs from the giant ball, this has always bothered me, is that he looks and he realizes there's this ball coming down, and you can see the like ramp where the ball's gonna come on, and it's like, if you take 2 steps backwards, the ball will roll over you and go out ahead of you, and you don't have to run.
That's not very cinematic.
It always bothers me, because it's like, it's not far enough behind him.
Yeah.
He literally could just be like, ooh, and it would go right by
the
him.
perspective
Always
is
bugged me.
different when we see him under the ball, and then when we see him running towards the camera and the ball's behind him, yeah, it's slightly different timing, yeah.
And then when they were transporting the Ark to Greece from Egypt on a U-boat, he is just on the outside of the U-boat.
Yeah. That's the one not perfect
That's
thing.
the one not perfect thing?
Oh, that means
The
it's
one
not
not
perfect.
perfect thing.
He just hangs on the side. Hopefully it doesn't go all the way under, right?
U-boats
Yeah.
spend most of their time on the surface. When it's on the surface, the crew is up there, so they can use their binoculars and stuff. So they're all in the boat, knowing what comes out of the boat.
They kind of show him just like,
like,
kind
what
of
is
barely
happening?
up there, yeah.
And it's such a fixable thing. Just make him a prisoner or something. Because
Yeah.
he spends half the movie being a prisoner of theirs. They're like leading around.
Easy,
It's
yeah.
like, why? And then the ending where he's just a prisoner and they're like, we're just going to make you watch.
Oh,
And then literally a Deus Ex Machina.
I love...
Literally.
Yeah, that's literally, yeah. But I love that ending. It's very Ghostbusters before there was
It is.
Ghostbusters.
I thought, I was like,
Just-
all these effects even look like
Yeah.
the same effects from Ghostbusters.
And I just love how the angels or whatever they are, they look at him and they're pretty and then
They're
they turn
pretty.
evil.
I don't know, those are angels. Those
Yeah,
are
they're-
Ghostbuster ghosts.
Yeah.
Last Crusade, better ending.
Yeah. Worst villain.
I don't love Belloc though. I don't know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
and then there's the Tot or something.
Yeah, Arnold.
And he's not
which
like-
means death.
Yeah, he's not that like interesting. He's just like a weird looking dude.
He just looks real evil.
And I know there's a shot where he's like taking his hat off
Mm-hmm.
and like fanning himself, but he's doing this, and you can see that they've shaved his head. Have you
Yes.
noticed that?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't need that shot
Yeah,
to
right.
show that he has a fake bald head.
Did you know that Belloc, so the actor Paul Freeman, is Ivan Ooze from
Ivan?
the Power Rangers movie?
I've not seen the Power Rangers
Okay.
I was too cool for Power Rangers.
Maybe all the viewers have.
All right, you ready to play the game?
Sure.
Did I make it up, or is it a real expanded universe thing? Indiana Jones and the Wiener of Injustice.
Real.
I made that one up.
Okay, thank God.
I made that one up. I was
I thought it
picturing
was-
well, okay, our neighbors have in their backyard a statue of a wiener dog, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it's like a statue.
I
and
thought I was gonna
some
go-
natives, some horribly insensitive depiction of natives worship it and think it's a judge of some kind.
I thought that was going to be so bad that it was true. One of those.
Indiana Jones and the Attack of the Hawkmen.
True.
That is a young Indiana Jones episode. Indiana Jones and the Perils of Cupid.
I hope it's false.
That is also a young Indiana Jones episode. Indiana Jones and the Cursed Crown Jewels.
True.
Made up. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
That's true, right?
That is a video game.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Treasure of the Peacock's Eye.
True.
That is also a young Indiana Jones episode. Indiana Jones and the Ape Slaves of Howling Island.
I hope it's
Ape
false.
Slaves. That is a book.
Ooh,
A book for children.
I don't like it.
Indiana Jones and the Philosopher's Stone.
False.
That is a book from 1995, which is 2 years prior to Harry Potter and
my
the
God.
Philosopher's Stone, which is called Sorcerer in America.
Yeah, she's a fraud.
Yeah. J.K. Rowling stole all of that. I'm pretty sure you just changed Indiana Jones to Harry Potter, and that's the exact same novel. I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably true. Indiana Jones and the Unicorn's Legacy.
I'm gonna say false because unicorns aren't real.
That is also a book. Indiana Jones.
All this is real stuff, right? Crystal
Indiana
skulls
Jones
and eyes
and the cream. I can't read this one. Indiana Jones and the Cream of Eternal Youth.
and true.
It's made up.
Oh, thank
I had ChatGPT make some up, but it made that one up for me.
Oh, good.
Indiana
Good,
Jones
good.
and the Cream of Eternal Youth. Oh, I love it. Indiana Jones and the Gypsy Revenge.
Don't think we use that term anymore. But back then, when it was true, did we?
It is a book. Indiana Jones and the Dragon of Vengeance.
False.
That is a book. Indiana Jones and the Dildo of Consequences.
It's got to be false.
I made that one up. That's a fun one. Indiana Jones and the Quest for the Golden Rubber Duck. It's gold and it's rubber.
Is that a Chat GPT one?
It is ChatGPT.
Too many
Gold
adjectives
rubber.
there.
We're gonna throw that in. That's fine. Indiana Jones and the Arms of Gold.
True.
That is a comic book. Indiana Jones and the Trivial Trinket of Trivia.
True, it's a game.
It's ChatGPT.
Okay. That's too much.
Here's the rest of the ChatGPT ones I liked. Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Overcooked Pasta. Indiana Jones and the Dongle of Forbidden Knowledge.
Yeah, those don't exist yet.
Indiana Jones and the Phantom Ball.
You know, that's not too bad.
I then asked ChatGPT for parodies of Indiana Jones titles.
And none of those were.
And I was expecting Indiana Jones and the Turtle Youth,
Temple of...
But every time it made a play on Indiana Jones, which I thought was interesting.
Indiana Groans and the Perilous Journey to the Dentist. Indiana Cone and the Forbidden Ice Cream Truck. Indiana Clones and the Mystery of the Identical Archaeologists.
That's not bad.
Because they're clones.
That's not bad.
Indiana Phones and the Endless Telemarketing Calls. Indiana Pones and the Epic Pony Indiana Tones and the Enchanted Music Player. Indiana Pones, PWNS, and the Kingdom of Internet Trolls. Indiana Gnomes and the Curse of the Tiny Hats. And the last one is Indiana Slapstick and the Catastrophic Comedy Club. No. I thought when you said parody, I thought it was going to be like a different state. Like
Montana
Missouri.
Smith.
Montana Smith.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to see Indiana Groans and the Perilous Journey to the Dentist?
No.
No.
I want to see Montana Smith.
In the cream of eternal youth. I guess I didn't read you all of the nonsense ones. The real nonsense ones. Indiana Jones and the Eye of the Tiger. This is a real episode of Young Indiana Jones. How about Young Indiana Jones and the Plantation Treasure?
Ooh.
That is a book.
That's a real book?
That's a book for children.
Oh, man.
Young Indiana Jones and the Phantom Train of Doom.
No.
It's a Phantom Train of Doom.
That can't be real, right?
That is a episode of Chronicles.
It's too wordy.
Yep.
Let's excise that, George Lucas.
Excise. Is George Lucas the luckiest man alive? He has so many terrible ideas, some good ones, and he really got all the good ones out right early. And you go, oh, okay. And then there's a lot of bad ones. It's like,
A lot of bad ones.
is it just luck that your good ones came out then and not like if you had made Indiana Jones using a saxophone to cause snow to fall on bad guys in the first movie, would there be anything else after that that we would have been done?
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of the fan blame on Crystal Skull goes to him, right?
Yeah, because
he's more CGI.
And Temple of Doom too, which you love. So I guess it's a lot of like he kept trying to talk Steven Spielberg into a thing, and Steven Spielberg was like, I don't want to do that, and then he'd like find a backdoor way to do it.
I mean,
because he famously wanted to do like Indiana Jones in the haunted house, and Spielberg was like, well, I made Poltergeist, so I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, how about Indiana Jones in the like haunted castle? And like, I will give you something about Last Crusade, my favorite Indiana Jones film. That isn't great, which is that the opening with River Phoenix has a little bit of a Star Wars prequel vibe, where it's like, here, let's show you all the backs. Here's how he gets the scar, and here's how he gets his fear of snakes, and here's how he gets the hat, and all those things happen in like 4 minutes. Yeah, this is what the prequels are like. It's like, and then Anakin builds C-3PO.
I mean, when you watch Crusade, you hadn't seen Phantom Menace yet.
Right.
So it's great.
It's kind of his first foray into, let's overly explain the backstory of every character.
I mean, I think River Phoenix is so good that it doesn't bother me. It's fun,
and
too.
I mean, that sequence is good.
It's a good sequence.
And if the Star Wars prequels had never happened after, for you to compare it to, it maybe wouldn't bother as much. But the fact that it's like, this is just that again.
Well, what is
George?
What is the best prequel? Oh wait, is it Temple of Doom?
It's a prequel for like no reason.
Yeah,
Temple of Doom.
it's a prequel, so they didn't have to explain Marion away, I guess.
I think the thing I read was that they wanted it to not be Nazis
Oh,
again.
yes, that's why.
I was like, well, you could make a movie that's set in 1938 where you go to India and it's not
Right.
Nazis. Why?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's the lady.
It's probably a both. You know?
The whole premise was Steven Spielberg was like, I want to make a James Bond movie, and George Lucas was like, I got a better idea. It's like, well, James Bond always has a different lady every time, so what does it matter?
And then he dresses just like James Bond.
Well, and they drop Mary, and she's not in Last Crusade, so
Yeah, I know. That's
why is Temple of Doom a prequel? The only way it makes sense to me is if they're doing Indiana Jones differently, where like maybe he's more of a rogue who wants to just sell things, like Phoebe in this movie.
In Temple of Doom, he is about fortune and glory. Him and Willie say those words, so he is more.
So what happens between Temple of Doom and Raiders, where he's like more, it belongs in a museum? Does that happen in Temple of Doom?
Kind of, yeah, because
I don't know that I've ever gathered that.
I think it's. I mean,
I crossed an important artifact. It belongs in a museum.
I feel like it's because when he's in the caves and he's trying to escape, he finds all the kids being tortured and used as slaves, and I think maybe that he's like, we're leaving, all of us, you know, I'm gonna save everyone, And that's kind of where it turns, probably. And he does see Short Round also get tortured too, so.
Just fun stuff.
Yeah. Torture! It's real dark, because Spielberg and Lucas were going through divorces.
Yeah, and Willie Nelson's old girlfriend or something. Something like that.
As I was rewatching them, I had planned on watching the Young Indiana Jones Adventures, which
I
is
have
on
some thoughts on that.
Disney Plus, because
Now,
I had never seen them.
Is that the movies or the show?
I thought it was a show, but then I realized that there was 22 episodes and they were all 90 minutes long.
Right. So they made it as a show,
Yeah.
and then a couple years later, George Lucas was like, "No, I'm gonna take these episodes and then turn them into movies." So it's in two completely different versions.
Okay.
So in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, they're like 30-minute shows. And there's a bookend with an 80-year-old man playing old Indiana Jones, and he'll like do stuff like he gets his arm stuck in the mailbox. He's like, I was trying to drop a package and I dropped the wrong one, so I'm trying to get it back. He also has an eye patch through it. So old Indiana Jones has an eye patch.
I've always had a thing for ladies in uniform.
And this guy looks older than Harrison Ford at 80.
Yeah, he's supposed to look incredibly old, and it's like Harrison Ford at 80 looks 20 years younger than this person. I was like, I was hoping Indiana Jones would get an eye patch in this film, because I knew that in Chronicles he has an eye patch. So yeah, there's an episode where this male woman catches him and is like, that's a federal offense, after the interfering with the mail, and he just starts telling a story to her, and then it cuts to like when he's younger. He's like, well, when the Kaiser, blah blah blah. That's how every episode is like. And then it does this crotchety old man with an eye patch.
A little blurry effect, and you flash
There's
back
one, he goes to like a donut store, and this woman in front of him was like, can I have a dozen glazed? And this like minimum wage worker hands her a box. These are chocolate, I wanted glazed. And he's like, ma'am, my job is really hard, and I don't want to walk all the way back there. So old Indiana Jones takes his cane and like hooks it around his neck and like assaults this minimum wage worker. In my day, I was fighting in the trenches, and that was a tough job.
If you'll apologize to the nice lady, right now, I'll reconsider turning your head into a sausage pizza.
I know that I watched it as a kid.
It was just his birthday 2 days ago. Canonically,
His
was
birthday
born July
is
1st,
July
1899.
So
in Dial of Destiny, he was 70.
At the end of the war. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, her birthday's coming up. She currently is the same age as me. There's an episode where Harrison Ford shows up to play 50-year-old Indiana Jones, and he plays the saxophone.
Sure.
And they're in like a cabin. I think it's called like The Mystery of the Blues is maybe the episode title.
Was this post-Clinton? Gotta be, right?
Post-Clinton. Oh, Clinton playing the sax. This
Yeah,
came out probably 93, 94.
Okay,
so
right.
92 is when he did it, probably.
Saxophone is cool, man.
Right. But he plays the sax. They're in like a cabin in like Wyoming or something, because Harrison Ford lived in Wyoming. The only way they could get him in the show was to go to Wyoming to shoot it. He's like, I'm not leaving my house.
This place is boring, man. We're out of here.
Boring?
Yeah, it's full of junk.
Junk? Junk? Why, some of the greatest adventures of my life are sitting in this museum.
Maybe it's cool for you, dude, but we think it stinks.
Hold on, I'll clobber you.
In Crystal Skull, he mentions to Mutt that he met Pancho Villa.
Yeah.
That's an episode of Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. He loses his virginity to
Cleopatra.
someone who's alive in 1918.
1918?
Maybe not 1914.
But he would have been
a famous woman.
So he would have been 15 when he lost his virginity.
I don't remember exactly when it was.
Okay.
This is a famous woman.
I mean, back then, who knows, right?
This is a famous woman who was found to be a spy and was executed.
Mata Hari?
Yes. He loses his virginity to Mata Hari.
He has the most consequential
face and virginity.
History.
Yeah.
In the history of the world.
In the history of faces and
character history, it's just...
Listen, kid, who's telling this story, you or me?
You, sir.
Damn right, so shut up and listen.
There's also a shot-for-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark? It was like a fan film.
Oh, one of those
essentially.
fan films? I feel
And
like
they
I've seen a
did-
few of those.
They did a complete shot for shot, everything recreated, including continuity errors. There's like parts where they're like in the airplane battle where they're, you know, a guy ends up getting hit by the propellers. There's a part where like, oh, he was wearing a thing, but now he's not, and it's over there. And it's like they recreate all of the continuity errors. That's dedication. I feel like you would fix the continuity errors if you're gonna do a shot-for-shot remake.
No,
like,
because
maybe,
remember, I said
maybe
it was a
fix
perfect
those.
movie, and they thought so too.
They did think so too. They
And
recreated
then
them all.
they did that, and then there was a documentary of them doing that.
We need a documentary about us right now. Just put a camera over there pointed at these cameras. And we've made a documentary about the making of.
So we had 2 pantsless men photographed from the waist up. Film history.
All right. Any last final summary? Throw in something I can make fun of you for. Say a word wrong and I'll cut it in earlier. You know, something like that.
Fuck Nazis.
Say you love Nazis.
Oh, I will never say that.
I just said it, but too bad you're not editing this.
Boom.
Spix-
We did it.
Spixie wank.